The first Springbok game of 2024 is done. A 28-point win margin, pretty solid outing, although against a very weak Welsh side. So there's probably not a lot that we can take out of this game. However, I did see something really interesting that I want to discuss in this video. As always, you can let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments. Let's get into it. What I saw that was so interesting was that Faf De Klerk was really busy around the ruck area, specifically in those first 3 or 4 channels next to the ruck. He was constantly threatening those defenders by picking the ball up and going very flat to the defensive line before offloading to another attacker. And this is something that I don't think the Springboks have done a lot in the past. At least I don't remember them doing this, so it's really interesting. Now, this could be that Rassie Erasmus looked at this and said, well, it's a very weak Welsh side, so you know what, Faf, you can go and you can play however you want, look for gaps, just go haywire if you want. But I don't think so. I think that this game was really important for him, given that this is preparation for those Irish tests. So I do think there was meaning behind this. And I think a really interesting question is, could the Springboks take this into the Irish test and would it be effective? Now, the reason why this would be effective is, like I said, it threatens those defenders close to the ruck. But this also has a knock-on effect on the outside defenders. The outside defenders can't really shoot up because as long as Faf is a threat in those inside channels, the gaps that would be created from these outside defenders shooting up could still be exploited. So in a lot of ways, this keeps the inside defenders honest, but it also keeps the outside defenders very honest as well. The guard player, which is this player next to the ruck, the first player next to the ruck, also can't shoot up, because if he shoots up, it will also create a weakness there and a gap there that the team can exploit. An example of this is at the 40-second mark of the Wales game, where Faf spots a gap in the Welsh defensive line and he immediately picks it up and runs towards it. We can also see that the tight edge shoots up prematurely, and it also creates a gap right next to Wainwright. So this is a perfect example of the weaknesses that can arise in defensive lines when this is done well. And I believe in this example, the Springboks very nearly got a line break. Another example is here in the 23-minute mark, which is from a scrum. Usually here we'll see South Africa try to exit cleanly by giving it to whoever the first receiver is. They'll boot it out, usually into touch, to set up the line out where they can compete. But instead of that, Faf decides to pick the ball up, run straight to the defensive line, and he gives a double skip pass out to Edwill van der Merwe on the outside. This was also quite effective, as when you look at where Edwill van der Merwe gets the ball, he's got a lot of space in front of him and it gives him enough time to put in a really effective kick. So this is all good and well against Wales, where it was really effective, but the most important question is, can this be taken into the Ireland tests? In my opinion, yes and no. No, because this would be very high risk against Ireland. Ireland's defense is really good, specifically close to the ruck. Usually Ireland are the ones that will exploit the spaces close to the ruck. I don't think I've ever seen a line break through the Irish defense close to the ruck there, at least if it's not a pick and go. So in my opinion, this would be quite risky against Ireland, and one of the reasons for this is because Faf De Klerk is not necessarily the biggest guy. If he does get caught there against, I don't know, Andrew Porter, for example, he's definitely losing those collisions. South Africa are on the back foot and there's a high chance for a turnover. However, this strategy could be very effective against Ireland. The reason for this is because one of Ireland's biggest defensive strengths is that their ruck work is really good and really aggressive, particularly when their opponent's attackers become isolated. The fact that these outside defenders would be kept honest means that South Africa would have this little bit of extra time for their support players to get into position where they can prevent a turnover from Ireland. When we look at players for Ireland like Josh van der Flier, Caelan Doris, these players are extremely good at the ruck. If they even get a small opportunity, they will take it and they will probably turn the ball over. I believe this is also what Jacques Nienaber said during Chasing the Sun. I think it was episode 2, where he said one of the main keys for South Africa against Ireland was to prevent their poachers from getting to the ball. And if you look at that World Cup pool match, you'll see that one of the main positives for Ireland was that they were really good at the ruck and they managed to turn the ball over a lot of times. Again, this could be nothing. It could just be that, well, Wales was really weak in this area and Faf decided to exploit it, but I don't think so. I think that Rassie needed to use every single minute of this Wales game to prepare for Ireland. We might not actually see this in the games themselves, but maybe this will give the Irish coaching staff a little bit of something to think about and some doubts, and maybe it'll take some resources away from other areas that might be more important. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. If you haven't seen my URC final review, please go check that out, and I shall see you again next time. Cheers.